Hello. Guess who figured out a new thing that my computer does? This is a weird thing that my computer's been doing recently where it decides that, I think my graphics card is a mic now? Which is cool. Anyway, we're doing something a little bit different today, is what I was saying. I restarted just to sync with the song tonight, a little bit. Yeah, that also, and my voice is a tiny bit quiet. Oh, fun. Does anyone else feel like my mic is a little bit quiet today? Let's see if it's turned down my audio for no reason. It does that. That's a fun thing it does. Levels are at 100%. I can turn myself up a bit. Yeah, it's quiet? Okay. I'm going to turn myself up a bit more. We should be okay right here. How's that sound? Wait a minute. Okay, just had to make sure that it was actually the preamp I've got now works as a mic as well. So sometimes it decides it's the mic, but the problem with that is it's on the other side of the room. Cool. Anyway, so a lot of people had questions about the Town of Nowhere that I wanted to answer, and I wanted to talk about stuff that happened in the Town of Nowhere that you guys didn't get to experience or maybe didn't get. And so I think what we're going to do is I'm going to talk for a little bit, and then I'm going to answer the questions that are on the Reddit and that people in chat said. If you guys can, I'm going to go ahead and find and then link that Reddit Q&A page. And that way, if you guys have to leave before this ends up getting around to your question, you could just ask that question there, bounce, and then check after hours. There's that. Obviously, spoilers for the entirety of the Town of Nowhere. Do not watch this stream if you have not finished watching all of the Town of Nowhere. Couple things that I want to say right off the bat. First off, some people have been asking, will there be a Town of Nowhere 2? My intention is that we should be able to come back to the Town of Nowhere. And will there be something else like the Town of Nowhere? Yes, as well. I think I've already said this a few times on stream. About session 2, I decided I wanted to do another thing based on what I was learning, and so that is definitely a thing that I'm going to do, and I've been working on it, and I've actually been making pretty big strides in. I think you're right. I should probably put spoilers. Cool. There we go. So there will be another thing before we go back to the Town of Nowhere, because I've been working on that since basically this time last year almost. So before we get into like the Town of Nowhere itself and talking about that, I think we need to talk about some like history stuff real quick. And just some general things that I've observed about just my community that came into that were relevant to the creating of the Town of Nowhere. So back in let's see, apparently September of 2015, I ended up playing a game called Choice Chamber. Might have been like the month before, but there was at least a highlight video of it in September. Choice Chamber, for those of you that did not see that stream like 5 years ago, let me see if I can actually get that VOD to appear. There we go. So you can go and watch this video. It's a highlight video. It's really kind of not a very exciting stream, I guess, in retrospect. Just to talk about how this game works is basically like, it's a Twitch integrated game where it's a platformer, and you've got to like get to the end. Every time you level up, your chat gets to do something to you, right? And either it's something helpful or hurtful. And weirdly, what I found out during the run of that game is that my chat is incredibly nice to me and did not want to screw me over. This is another thing that happened back when I was doing, I believe it was Slay the Spire had a very similar mechanic. Rather than screwing me over and, giving me bad cards, they would give me good cards. They would vote and try and get me the best cards possible. I believe, I did that stream with Aisha last night, and right after we got done with stream, she was like, your chat is so nice. It's a thing that, like, keeps coming up, and this is sort of something that I realized walking into the Town of Nowhere, because basically the Town of Nowhere does not work if you guys are jerks. Does that make sense? Like, the whole thing falls apart instantaneously as soon as you guys are jerks about it. If you guys just decided immediately to eat glass, that would be it. That would be the whole thing. And that was a serious worry I had, but something that I definitely thought about. I was like, chat wouldn't do that. And you guys didn't actually, like, prove me wrong on that. It would have been on brand. It would have been on brand. So I'm gonna put up session 1 of the Town of Nowhere, and I'm just gonna have this kind of playing while I'm talking. I'm gonna speed it up a bit, so that way I can kind of give a little bit of a narration of the first episode in the very least. Orthogonal Caster is actually working right now to do an edit of the entire thing that cuts down a lot of this stuff. He did a edit that he's going to send me here soon of the first episode that knocks it down from almost 3 hours to about 30 minutes. Put the subtitles on. We'll see what the subtitles think they are. Yeah. Auto-generated. There we go. So this first initial line here is actually one of the only surviving elements of the original thing I was going to do. I was originally going to do a Call of Cthulhu style story that was going to be with the other streamers, but trying to get the streamers together to do a thing is, I don't know, it's hard to schedule stuff, and so I figured, what if I could just play D&D with chat instead, essentially? So that's what we went with. So the original idea of what the Town of Nowhere, like, was built off of was, instead it was going to be in a Denny's that you had basically that wake up where you're in hell and everything sucks, but instead of being in a bus with no AC driving out to West Texas, it was Denny's. Which is functionally about the same thing. And it would have been in the 1980s. It would have been as 80s as I could have made it. And it would have been as tropey and weird about, like, zombie stuff as possible. Like, instantaneously, a wizard would run into the Denny's and be like, there's zombies, we gotta board this place up. And then the whole place would get boarded up and you wouldn't be able to leave, and the entire thing would be set around just being in a Denny's, not being able to leave, essentially. Okay, hold up. No, we got to go back like a half second here to just, like, point out the bastard. Yeah, there's this right here. For those of you that didn't catch it, there's no. This is a reference to the fact that I knew the time loop was going to happen and made sure that you guys would have an out in case if something went wrong. Horticulture. Yep, horticulture was just there as a sort of, like, these stats do not matter. Your can-do attitude actually being set to almost nothing was an attempt to railroad the first session just to be able to increase the odds that I would get the results I wanted on the first session. The first session is probably the most scripted of all of them. So can-do attitude became irrelevant later, and that was by design. It was meant to be something that like stuck you to what I needed you to do on the first thing, because and yeah, this is something that people have recommended, have the stats be a little bit more human, like 1 to 10 rather than 1 to 100. There's a lot of stuff I learned with the Town of Nowhere that I'd like to do in the next one. The main thing that I noticed was a problem was that if you joined like session 2 or like 3 or 4, you would just have no way of keeping up with it. So this, I used a map generator, hated it, and then did it by hand. It was just awful. I couldn't get the map generator to do what I wanted, and it was always laggy. The general design and aesthetic of Nowhere, and all of that is based off of actual West Texas. Not only just like the general direction of West Texas, but also the town West Texas. There's a town in the middle of nowhere, Texas, called West Texas. It's a small town with a population of about 3,000 people. They have a kolache shop. If you ever end up going to West Texas, yeah, here's West Texas. Welcome to fucking nothing. That's I believe what they're saying is there. There's nothing there. Kolache. Yeah, there we go. West Texas kolaches. These things, the check stop, absolute banger. If you end up going to like West Texas, go to the check stop. This is awesome. This place rules. They make the best kolaches. And when you are driving there for like hours through the middle of nothing in Texas, and you just randomly come along kolaches, it's great. I would only recommend it if you are for some reason driving through Texas, because I feel like the benefit of kolaches in this case are basically you're hungry. It's sort of a combination of the fact that you're hungry at that point and that there's just nothing else to eat, and aside from like fast food, and then suddenly like a beacon from the night, the check stop appears and they make really good sandwiches and they make good kolaches, and you're just like, oh yes. A kolache, I've only ever had fruit kolaches. I don't know if they come in meat flavors. I think that the meat ones are technically as well, but basically it's like a pastry with like strawberry jam in it. And it is just like, you heat that shit up in the microwave for like 5 seconds, boom, amazing. Anyway, so the general aesthetic and the layout of the town was vaguely inspired by West Texas, which is a little unfortunate for reasons that anyone with a vague memory of West Texas history will know. But anyway, the where should I go from there? So this map screen was scripted in order to also not only give you this information, but also hide the fact that No was there. There's no reason that the map looks like a horse. That was just accidental, honestly. I was just like, okay, so here's the things that do need to happen. Starbucks needs to be directly next to the bus stop where you get dropped off. Like 100%, you just have to be there, right? Because there's 3 spots that a reasonable person would go to get coffee. Either Starbucks, 7-Eleven, or Randall's. And so I could pretty much limit down what you guys were going to do with your first choice by just going, hey, you need coffee. Where do you want to go? And then I plonk you in front of a Starbucks. Now, I figured chat would be like, hey, I don't want to go to the obvious answer because I'm going to be like that. I'm going to absolutely go out of my way to make sure that I do something that is against what you would expect. Also, he's No's gone now, by the way. I like the random Twitch donation thanks in the commentary there. So I was like, okay, there's 3 places you'll go. I expect that you'll probably deny the obvious answer of going to Starbucks. I've said it before, but the aesthetic, by the way, is based on old games that I used to play as a kid. It's part of the reason that I like Problem Sleuth over something like Homestuck. Though this was technically planned way back, like right after we got done with our session of D&D that Hootie did. And it's part of the reason that Gerald is one of the characters in this, which was Gerald was originally made as a gnome muscle wizard that I did for the D&D session. He was the guy I roleplayed using the same voice and more or less the same personality, except for he was a bit more of a dick. Gerald is vaguely based on this dude I knew for the longest time who would kind of just be a jackass to me for no reason and be like, we're friends, but like, why aren't you doing exactly what I want to do? So, okay, with the expectation that I want you to go to Starbucks, there were 2 other options, 7-Eleven or Randall's. You guys went to 7-Eleven, obviously. If you had gone to Randall's, it would have been closed because the only person working there is Daryl, and Daryl was still in the process of moving some stuff. He wasn't available. So had you gone there, it would have been closed, which would have been weird, and it probably would have tipped you off to something. But so then you guys go to the 7-Eleven, and I was like, okay, there's a lot of bad DMing tips that I'm giving right now, and I did these things because I needed a level of control to understand what your behavior would be like, generally speaking, in a setting like this, right? I didn't know what chat was going to do, but I had to like plan out everything to the best of my ability. So Noah was what is called a T-Rex in the plains. It's like a weird like D&D term that like, imagine there's a field and you know the town you're trying to get to is just on the other side of the field, but you got to go on the road because the DM wants you to go on the road, because if you don't go on the road, then you'll miss this encounter with the princess who's like secretly on the road and she's hiding and whatever. So when the players go, oh, well, I'm just going to like run across this field because it would just be faster. You plunk down just an entire Tyrannosaurus Rex. And then you're just like, oh, well, I guess we can't go there because we'll be killed by the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The same sort of thing was the point of what Noah was supposed to be doing here. To just be like, no, you shouldn't go to 7-Eleven because you will be murdered. What I didn't expect, and this is one of the reasons that I did as much planning as I did, was because I realized that there were going to be situations like this where something that I hadn't thought about came up. Namely, y'all would think that this guy who just ate a guy would be hot. We'll get into like I guess Noah some more in a minute, but as a random aside, Noah's general aesthetic was actually built backwards. Originally I was in a band for a bit, and we were gonna do some like Ghost BC and Merciful Fate and King Diamond cover kind of stuff, and for some reason I always end up being the lead singer of any of those kind of bands. Side note, I do not have that range. I just straight up do not have King Diamond's range. Real quick, Ghost BC, King Diamond. Do you see where I was going with this? I was like, that would be a cool aesthetic for like an outfit that I'd wear. I'd wear like a deer skull on my head and then like a priest robe. But like that ended up not working out. So I was like, okay, well, I got to use this aesthetic somewhere. So I guess I'm going to use it in this game I'm making. So how do I make that work? Well, let's make him like a guy who's cursed, you know? And that's his thing, is that's how he looks, you know? He just looks like that. It's not like he's wearing a mask or anything. He's just like that. So, there you go. Turns out he's exactly Chat's type, which is unfortunate. The whole conversation here with Noah, where he just straight up disappears from existence, was just me being like, oh, I didn't plan for this at all. So, again, I force the issue. I keep dropping can-do attitudes so that way I can force you to where I want you to go. No, I don't feel like Noah has any. I don't think that Noah is anywhere close to breaking his curse, if that's even possible. His curse, for those of you, okay, we'll get into Noah a bit while we wait for past me to like catch up. The specific curse that Noah has is specifically one that makes it so that way he's just greedy. He is an irrationally greedy person at times. If you go back and check like session 2, the first things he's talking about when he's talking about like what's going on is, why aren't there more people showing up to church? You know, everyone's leaving the church. There are not that many people that are showing up in my church. I need to have these people in my church. I need to gather these people to my church. People, he saw the cultists as a threat because they were taking people away from the church. It was not necessarily the fact that he was trying to bring people to religion. I think he does that at a subconscious level, which is why also in a later episode when this is people were asking on the FAQ, what are some things we missed? Some of the songs that he picked when the interfaith thing happened were all songs that were extremely like Christianity is great and keep everyone else out sort of kind of songs. That is not why Raymond and Noah split. We'll get into that later, but yeah. I feel like Noah does everything as a sort of weird, unintentional thing. I did say it at one point. I believe I did say it at one point that Raymond is definitely dating someone. I will tell you right now that Raymond and Noah is not canon. Did Noah just eat people normally, or was it not part of the curse? He just had to do that because of the curse. But he could never be sated by any amount of greed that he had. No matter what he did, he would not be able to sate that greed. That was part of it. I'm sorry, you guys. Though Raymond is with someone. And also that means that, like, Noah is single, right? So again, I continue to drop the can-do attitude, and I go, you go back over to Starbucks, because Chad decided to go to Starbucks, and go, what do you guys want to do? You're dying. Like, do something about this, please. Do exactly what I want you to do. And obviously then we go inside and the whole thing with Crystal happens. This was meant to be, okay, so Crystal is sort of the opposite of what Noah was supposed to do in the first episode. Whereas Noah was supposed to be like, things that look threatening aren't actually, which you guys accepted real fast. In my, I guess it's not headcanon if I'm the one who made it. I like to believe that Noah was like very like, he's like at some point had like a I don't know, I haven't seen the movie, but Wolf on Wall Street sort of thing where it just like We're talking like all out greed and like craziness going on, and that's how he got that curse. And he spent the rest of his life slowly trying to get his shit together and turn to religion in order to get his head straight. But he's better off than he ever has been, but he's still not good for all the reasons that I just said. You know, he still hasn't gotten his greed in check yet, and I don't think that he ever quite will. But he's definitely better off than he ever has been. Religion has been a good thing for him. He's seeking that redemption through Christianity, which ironically is also a thing that he's being greedy about. Like, why aren't more people showing up to watch me do this thing? And then, so anyway, Noah is supposed to prove, like, some things that look scary aren't. You guys accidentally figured that out just because you're horny, but, like, Crystal was supposed to be the opposite of that, where it's, like, some things that look normal, that don't look hostile, are. And you guys need to be on your guard, and you need to think about what you're doing rather than just doing stuff. This whole segment, first off, you guys naming no was the scariest shit in this first session, because I had absolutely no way of planning this, because I was like, can I get your name? And you guys go, no. The rest of the session sort of kind of assumed that you guys would come up with a name at this point rather than just be like, nah, fuck this. I'm like, so your name is No? There was a lot of stuff that was unplannable, and that slowly became something that I was able to work with a little bit, but I had to kind of like use this first session where I heavily scripted everything in order to make sure that I understood that. Hey, Limes, thank you for the raid. We are doing, so I did this D&D like thing, and I'm doing a Q&A on what happened in the story and all that kind of stuff. Massive spoilers for that whole thing. So if you don't want spoilers, then for this thing I made, which is super rad, I'll link you guys the first episode. Spoilers, but thank you for the raid, Limes. But yeah, super duper spoilers. The next one, I think, whatever replacement for Town of Nowhere that comes next, is gonna be a bit better about being able to jump in at session like 3 or 4, and that was one of the biggest issues that I ended up having. I don't even remember what the hell you guys ordered. Like, what is that? I like how I'm just like, yeah, whatever you just said. Another reason that the aesthetic is the way it is that way I can easily and quickly generate new characters on the fly. Town of Nowhere did end already. It ended last week. Crystal didn't make what you ordered. It didn't matter to her at all. One thing that I another question that people asked was, what are these are the names that you guys wanted to go with? Cum sugar. What was I gonna say? This is directly after a Homestuck stream, so obviously Vrisco is gonna be one of the ones that you guys went with. These were all possible names you guys went with: Cumchugger, Todd Howard, Donald Duck, Colin, Vriska. The other audio is not going. I've muted it because I'm talking over myself, and it would get confusing if I tried to talk over myself. But one of the things that I feel like was a nice little thing that I ended up doing that worked out not only mechanically for me, but also worked out for me, like, uh, just for conciseness, like for being concise sake, is that, uh, I made it so that way that the sewer bastard had gone around, like, eating several people. Like, a majority of the town is gone by the time that No shows up. To confirm, No knew who their sister was before they got on the bus. It's the reason that Crystal is always working. It's the reason that Daryl is always working. It's because all of those people are gone. Like, all of the other people who worked at Starbucks are gone. There is no one else. Like, that's why they had to work every single day, is because there was no one else there. It's part of the reason that they were so actively aggressive to No all of the time, because whenever No showed up, they would just act like a crazy person. And if you've ever worked like a 6-day week, imagine No showing up on a, like, hour, who knows, like 80 of like a 6-day week, and it's just like, get the fuck out. So yeah, this was meant to be a sort of, this is a gotcha. This was bullshit. Crystal just taking your name and not allowing you to do anything was like, magic is real. There are monsters here. Question everything you see and hear. Worry about everything you see and hear. And don't trust things just for the sake of trusting things. Have a critical line of thought. And this gotcha was like, you're not going to die from it, but you guys need to know that. I know someone asked on the Reddit, why are there monsters in the town of nowhere? This entire thing could be exactly the same without monsters. Like, you could not have Noah. You could not have Kevin. You could have Kevin just be a dude. Like, just a guy, right? Like, but that would suck. Like, I don't have a good, like, reason why. Like, it would suck. You know? Kevin, but not as a giant monster, is not as good. You know? I forgot to say, another, so after the 1980s thing was removed, and I switched it over proper to, like, what something looks a little bit more like the town of nowhere. I was gonna make it like a detective thing rather than like a trying to find your sister thing, but I realized that, like, why would you even, like, someone, I guess, paid you to go find their sister and you couldn't find them or something like that, and I was like, that's weird. I want to make this more personal so you guys, like, are involved. And it was gonna be noir, and it was gonna be gritty and raining, and you were gonna be a detective, and I was like, no, I shouldn't pick what the main character is, because maybe they don't want to be a dude. You know, maybe they don't want to be a detective. Maybe they want to have their job be something else, right? So I'm like, okay, here's what I'll do. I'll just have absolutely no information on what the main character is. And then you guys just decide things. And honestly, I feel like No being whatever the hell No is a lot more interesting than No as, like, a gritty, hard-boiled detective type. Like, we've done that joke before. We've been there. Whatever the hell No is great. The only reason that you look like a night piece is just because I needed to have a way of representing you that did not have an aesthetic attached to it. It wasn't male, it wasn't female, it didn't have race or gender, it didn't have any sort of look to it. a night could be anything, you know? Gerald showing up to have the conversation where he straight up again tells you magic is real, dude. Funkmaster Jay just showing up. Important little note that Draded actually figured out and posted about. If you want to get real freaked out, and it was something that like I didn't even tell my wife about for like months, because she was watching these VODs like when she was at work and stuff. The bastard straight up is in this episode. Like he is. You don't see him. The fact that every single time that someone goes missing, there is just a moment of actual silence during that. The whole like listen closely thing that I kept saying was literal. And that's why you don't remember who gave you tips, and that's why you don't remember how those dishes got in the thing, is because they ordered drinks, they drank them, they paid for them, and they're just gone. They died directly behind you. That's why there's blood on the counter. It was literally like directly behind you at one point. Rev, I'm half deaf and I can't hear quiet things. The next series is not going to have some shit like that because that's kind of hard to deal with. Why didn't the bastard eat us in the first episode? I mean, it already ate like 4 or 5 people and you didn't notice him, so whatever. Like, doesn't matter. Right? It's just full. The bastard mainly ate because it was hungry, and else it was eating in order to cover its tracks, so that way it could continue doing what it was doing. The whispering is not going to be as much of a thing in the next one. What if we had noticed him? No one did. The sound cue appears at several times. The only one that Draded didn't count is actually one that never actually ended up coming about. It's the last one that Draded didn't catch in that Reddit thread, pointing out, I believe, all of the moments where it happened. Let me go and pull it up. Let's see, where is it? Where'd you post this? There's the one you missed, and it's going to be the one that upsets you the most. Okay, this is where they happen. I assume that these are all correct. There is one other one that you guys missed, and it was on the day... I think it was the interfaith sermon. Yeah, it was the time of the interfaith sermon. There is a silence, and I made sure this one was as explicit as possible, so that way people would go, wait a minute, that's weird. I'm going to go back and look up what's going on here. That one happens during the interfaith, and that one was Gerald going missing. So had you guys waited until then, Gerald would have gone. And there was an entire plot line involving that had you guys failed to do that. So that was a thing you guys were able to stop. The silence was loud enough to be heard throughout the town. So, yeah. Can I put it in theater mode? Sure. Let me check and see what that looks like on this end here. Cool. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, cool. Thank you. Sorry. So let's I'm going to skip forward a bit. So yeah, it's right around here that The bastard shows up. You can't see him because obviously you don't have a mirror at this point, and you don't know to look in mirrors, but he straight up just eats some people right here. That's full screen, not theater. Is this what you wanted or no? It's not theater mode. Okay, how do I turn it on theater mode? Theater mode. There we go. Is that better? Cool. I don't know how YouTube works. It's my job. A whole long conversation with Gerald that just explains magic is real. That's a thing. You finish working the shift. You have a chance to interact with the monster. And then Crystal comes back, gives you your name. That's a good chunk of this session here. And then I go, okay, cool. Here's the motel. Do you guys want to go there? And you guys go, yeah. You go across the bridge. You get harassed by Roger. You guys do probably the only weird thing that you guys really end up doing that I mean, like, a lot of the weirdest stuff you guys did, the stuff that I couldn't predict, was in this episode. And after this episode, I was able to kind of get a vibe on what you guys would do. I still have no idea why you guys did this. Can you answer later what exactly are the Home Depot sprite? Or yeah, I will answer what those sprites are. I'll actually give you one better than that. But I've been wanting to tell you about this first episode a lot. I didn't count on you guys trying to fuck a house. I didn't count on you guys being what was with the vomit on the bridge? You guys vomited when you were being drugged through dimensions by the Home Depot entity, so that way he could ask you questions about what you saw. And that was your vomit from like 3 days later. Anyway, you have this whole long conversation with this guy. What's funny is I think I still have, can you guys, if I open stuff, no, if I open stuff, you guys can't see it. Window capture, monitor capture. Let's do that instead. Display capture. Cool. Roger is one of two halves to an element that is subtle and is something that I can't quite explain, but I think you guys get now. The existence of Roger being the way he is, and also the fact that I weirdly insisted on taxes, like being calculated correctly, is I have been through some crap in my life. And let me tell you, when you're going through some crap and it's like, okay, in order for me to make the world good, if I can figure out stuff, if I can make everybody safe, if I can make my friends safe through this shit we're going through right now, I need to have a bucket. Or I need to have like a ladder or a tent or whatever. And it's just like, who gives a shit about the sales tax right now? Why is that happening? Like, shut up. I just need a fucking bucket, you know? But, and you're just trying to do stuff, and there's all of this crap, like the cop just coming up to you and being like, hey, what are you up to? And it's like, dude, I'm dealing with shit so much more important than whatever you think that I'm dealing with right now. Like, this, whatever you fucking think I'm doing right now is actually not important. Fuck off. Like, I'm dealing with this other stuff. I'm trying to deal with shit right now. Roger and the insistence on getting the prices on stuff and the taxes done correctly were very much a part of, I don't know. I've talked about this on stream before. I think good horror is when you take something that scares you and you just ramp it up a bit. That whole thing is a thing that scares me, that frustrates me, that I would be doing something else and then I'd have to deal with this bullshit instead, you know? Taxes or whatever, and it's just like, I get that I have to get into, I get that I have to pay taxes, I get that I have to pay the correct amount, but holy shit, I do not care. Like, you know? Like, I have $5 and no fucks to give, right? The fact that like you had to deal with that when it was like, no, actually there's this thing straight up eating people. Like, that's way more important than whatever we're dealing with right now. You know? Chris, I think, is one of two, actually, no, one of three completely normal human beings in this town. I made these characters with this person does not exist. Yeah, and I had to re-roll a few times just to make sure that there was like some level of like, I don't know. I had certain aesthetics picked out, but you know, it just kind of, yeah. Chris is one of the normal people. Let's see. The woman working at the dollar store is another one of the normal people, and then Daryl is another one of the normal people. I sent you an S on how we could have saved Chris, but I'm not sure it worked. The drone thing. Yeah, Gerald is AI generated. You guys want to see really like horrifying shit? Hold on. You guys want to see high detail graphic versions of let's see, where is it? There we go. Behold, high definition Christopher. High definition Christopher. Yeah. Also, yeah, the type of moth that Kevin is based off of is an Angeles prominent moth, which is a moth that is native to like the Northeast and is one of only a handful of moths that have mouths. This is actually something that I did not know about moths, is they just straight up don't have mouths because they die. Their purpose of becoming a moth is just to breed and then they die. So the Angelos prominent moth is one of the ones that has a mouth. So that way he could, have the ability to talk. That was important to me. But anyway, that's enough of that. Also, I could bring it up. Someone was asking, what the, let's see, I believe, yeah, the albino raccoon was meant to be a sort of Tyrannosaurus in the plains to kind of like keep you guys in check. Ended up not using it. It was just gonna like show up in places to scare you off if you were being a problem. I ended up not using him, but he was actually the first sprite I made for this game. That's a badger. Yeah, that was the joke. So then you have this whole long conversation. I forget what is going on in this conversation about just like getting your, I guess it's just about getting your spot in the motel. And then here's the last time. So, okay, I checked once with Noah. I was like, something's, it's an albino raccoon. It's not a badger. It's just what he would have been called. And he would have been like a consistent threat for no reason. Like, just, it would be to keep you guys in check from going out of bounds and from doing stuff that was a problem. But I decided it wouldn't be worth doing because it was just kind of weird and it would have made the thing too chaotic. So he just never showed up. Sort of an invisible wall and to keep you on track, but I just didn't want to do that. If you guys end up going back in time, I don't know how you guys would manage to do that. And I'll get into that more in a bit. So anyway, Noah is to teach you guys that things that are scary are not necessarily a threat, and Crystal was to teach you that things that look nice are maybe a threat, and you should question, in all cases, what the hell you think is going on. The last check for the setting, or this first session, is with Sam, just to straight up go, hey, did you guys understand this? And that was with Sam. Like, do you guys understand that this guy, who is being suspect as fuck, is a threat to you? Like, did you guys understand everything else that, like, I was attempting to teach you at the beginning of this session? Like, there are monsters. Do you get this? Why did he never show up again? You guys never went to go visit him, really. Like, he just kind of, he was there. He was also an abandoned D&D character concept that I wanted to do, where it was like a vampire that 100% had to do exactly the rules of being a vampire. And that's more or less the first session in a nutshell. This was the most scripted one. From here on out, I got a little bit looser, just because I wanted you guys to have more room to do what you want. I usually had like 2 major events that needed to happen, and they would happen regardless if you were there or not, but the town was small enough that most of the time you were there for it if it were to happen. There was some stuff that happened when you guys weren't there. There was some stuff that you guys prevented by being in certain places at certain times. An overall list, I can't remember everything. I think one of the going back to like the human thing, one of the key people that I changed a couple people from being just normal people to yeah, you didn't notice the blood in the first episode. That was in, I believe, the next episode, which was 100% your cat. The cat was delivered by mail prior to you getting to the town, and the bastard just went after it for really no reason because it saw it in the mirror. It would have been at night the next day. So additionally, if you go back and look at Drated's timestamps, I believe they got it right as well, saying that, yes, the second loop, you actually do hear the silence for when Oscar goes missing. There was an attempt, I guess, to save Oscar, but you guys just sort of, like, rolled around in the Home Depot parking lot instead. You're sick. I'm sorry. Like, can I ask something unrelated? Is you describing the Home Depot, everything getting silent, any bit related? Slightly. The bastard would attack you for 2 different reasons. 1 for food, and 2 for if you saw it. Which is why it attacked you in the sewers, is because you went looking for it. And that was something I more or less had planned since the beginning, which that was... The bastard is intelligent to a certain degree, but it's completely out of place and out of time. It's not where it's supposed to be, and it's not supposed to be here. Let me put it this way. Everything is the Home Depot entity's fault. Like, inadvertently. So how about we just, like, talk about the Home Depot entity for a minute? It is inevitable that we're going to have to talk about Warhammer at one point or another. There's this really good book that I ended up reading a little bit before this whole thing happened. And it's called Pawns of Chaos. It's a Old Hammer Warhammer book, right? Really good. Gonna give some spoilers for it right now. Let's see. Here's the cover, I guess. Oh, God, that is so crunchy. Can we get one that doesn't look crunchy? There we go. All right, so Pawns of Chaos. Let me give you guys the general vibe of what happens in this book. See if you get where I'm going with this. Side note, it's the grim dark old school Warhammer stuff, so like there's just rape for no reason at one part, just because it's grim dark. Anyway, some people, the Imperial Guard gets crash landed on this planet, right? And it's filled with these like medieval age sort of people, right? And they get stuck on this planet because they can't get off the planet, because if they drive off the planet, they'll drive into this warp storm that'll kill them, right? So they're basically stuck on this planet for like generations, and to the point that no one who actually is in the Imperial Guard anymore, they're just like the descendants of some guy. The commander in charge is like the grandson of someone or another, right? A warp storm being like just hell opening up over this planet. It's to trap these people on it. And they finally they divine with their psychers and stuff, and they go, the Space Marines are coming for us. Was that a 3-tone noise for? That was just my phone letting me know that I was live. They get this notification that like, hey, the Space Marines are coming for us, right? They're going to save us from this, but there are all these heretical, like, awful people here, you know? Like, if they find out that we've got all these demon worshippers on this planet, they're going to just, like, blow up the whole planet because they don't want to have to deal with this thing. So before this warp storm gets out of the way, before the Space Marines show up, we need to just kill everyone. So the story takes the point of view of a couple of different people, mostly people from these tribes that are trying to get out of this situation, right? And so they start worshiping this god, and then one of the people gets turned into this guy, and like the main character dies like halfway through. And okay, so here's the thing. Space Marines, if they realize there's any sort of chaotic corruption, they'll just bomb the whole planet. So they're like, we don't want to die. We're not doing anything bad. So anyway, they start making a deal with this demon, and this demonic god gives one of them all of these powers and stuff like that, and they use it to rise up against the Imperial Guard. And then finally, the warp storm opens up enough for the Space Marines to come down, and then this whole deal, everything you're following the main character for, makes no difference. It does not matter at all, because it's literally just that one god of chaos trying to kill like 5 Space Marines. And he spent like hundreds of years setting up this plan because he could see the future. He knew what was going to happen. And he was like, I'm going to fuck over these 5 guys specifically, and I'm going to make sure that this entire world is just a trap, just to set that up. And I was like, that is the level that gods and elder creatures need to be working at. Like, that the main character does not matter. The main character isn't even like important to the general storyline of the universe, or even really to the book. He's just like working in this incredibly Machiavellian way to make sure these 5 dudes die, because it's the one specific way that he can get them to die for sure. And I was like, that is the way the Home Depot entity, that's how like chaotic gods need to act. Super duper beyond your comprehension. Makes no sense. Whatever you think that they're doing for you should not matter, right? This is why, so straight from the get-go, before you even met the Home Depot entity, this is the way that he was dealing with stuff. The Home Depot entity legitimately, let me put it to you like this. Let's imagine you're walking down the beach, right? You're drinking a Pepsi out of a bottle, and like you come back the next day, and there's just like this like hermit crab, and it's got like a soda pop bottle cap as its like shell. You're just like, dude, that's fucking weird. And then like all of these other hermit crabs start running up to you and then like fighting over this thing. You'd be like, dude, this is weird. What's going on? You know? That's the level that the Home Depot entity was working at. He didn't realize that he caused any of these problems, but he didn't understand what was happening because it was outside of his ability to understand, which was new and different for him. The Home Depot entity works on like so many different levels. He's a like at least like 8th or 9th dimensional like creature. He's not a god. He just experiences time and space in more dimensions than we do. We experience time in, and I explained this once on a Homestuck stream. Where is Paint? I have no idea where Paint is anymore. We experience time like, you know, this, right? We got past, future, now, right? You experience space in 3 dimensions, right? The Home Depot entity experiences time in a 3-dimensional state. So, whereas instead of just there being past, now, and future, there's also like slightly to the left of now. Like slightly to the left of the present. But you can't see it. It'd be a bit sort of like, what if you were playing like Mario 1, like the original Mario game, right? And suddenly it was 3D for like 3 seconds. It'd be weird. It'd be very weird. It's part of the reason, and because the Home Depot entity also exists on multiple like physical planes of existence, he couldn't actually fit into the 3 dimensions that we do in any sort of meaningful way, which is why he is one of 2 characters that broke one of the cardinal rules of the game, which is you cannot move. None of the characters move in the Town of Nowhere. Straight up, none of the characters in this universe move. You look at Sam, he doesn't move while like you're watching him, right? He doesn't change his outfit. He doesn't change into his other outfit unless if you see him. He's one of 2 characters that can actually move like that because he's moving outside of the dimensions of what we can experience. There have been several people who are like, what does the Home Depot entity look like? And we can go and pull that up. So people actually got very close to figuring it out. They did. There was a Reddit thread on this, and hopefully that this works. I don't know if it will or not. This is, if you could actually see all of the Home Depot entity at once, this is what he looks like. And you kind of usually view him from this direction. And the way he appears to you guys is in slivers. You only see slices of him at a time because he doesn't fit onto our plane correctly. He continues to move in ways that we can't quite experience. So that's why he looks the way he does. I just did a little bit of like 3D art. So each little like segment of his animation is like a sliver, like a cross section of what he looks like. Because that's as much of him as you could comprehend in a 3-dimensional space. Like the Apple analogy and the 4D explanation thing with the cross sections appearing, yes. To a Flatlander, a creature that only can exist in 2 dimensions, we would appear as the Home Depot entity does. So, what the bastard is while the Home Depot entity was just kind of like fucking around doing whatever the hell he does, the bastard just sort of like accidentally fell along with him and ended up in more or less our segment of 3 dimensions. Like he's a multiplanar thing too, but he's like slightly to the left of what we can experience. And so we can experience him through mirrors and stuff like that. And his hunting practice as whatever kind of creature he was to make you forget he existed so that way he could get along with, eating the rest of the things in the area. It's sort of the same way that like a snake uses venom. The bastard uses that effect in order to get certain people killed, and get away with it long enough to be able to feed completely without having to fight too much. But we'll get into the bastard a little bit more in a minute. Let's see, what else do I need to go over? So yeah, I mean, like, it's all kind of sort of the Home Depot entity's fault. He didn't do it on purpose, and he's still limited by the same things that we are, that he can't experience things and he can't know things until he knows them, and he can talk to his future self to know these things, but he has to be able to know them at some point, at some time. And so he manipulated No specifically for the purpose of figuring out what is going on. They used No because No was already interested and already understood that something was going on. The Home Depot entity originally was not meant to have as much of a presence in the universe. Why did the Home Depot god save us from prison, though? So that way he could use you? If you were in prison, you weren't doing stuff. You weren't helping him if you were in prison. That's why he stole money for you, too. He stole money from the bank because he was like, you guys, you need money? If you have money, can you do things for me? And you guys were like, yeah. And he's like, cool, here's money. I don't understand what money is, but if I give it to you, you'll do what I want, right? And you were like, yeah. He did. Okay, so when you guys asked him specifically who stole the money from the hotel room, he specifically did not steal the money from the hotel room. When you guys were in jail, he was not the one who did that. Canonically, the person who did that was No, which if you go back and actually listen to what the Home Depot entity is saying there, he actually straight up tells you. He's kind of fucking with you at that point. He was just like, you guys figure this out. So had you guys not gone with the plan you guys did, it would have been up to y'all to go ahead and steal the money to be able to fake your own innocence for the crime that you didn't do. A lot of the writing for The Town of Nowhere was based around trying to figure out what a individual character's motivation was. And we can't get into all of that tonight, but I'm just trying to... the bank got robbed. Yeah, he just teleported it out of there. You just walked through dimensions, pulled it out, and walked it out. How many other endings were there that you had pre-prepared? There was a couple other endings. Obviously, any time that you could have died, that would have been another possible ending. So basically, the bastard is like if a cheetah got loose in a civilization that had never seen a cheetah before. Yeah, basically. And the Home Depot entity legitimately had never had anything like that ever happen. And he was just like, what? Are you... What? What? What is this thing? How come I can't understand it? Because if you're a multi-dimensional creature and you come across something that you have no idea what it is, and the future versions of yourself have no idea what it is, that's weird. You know all timelines that could happen. Why do you not know what this thing is? Like, so then you've got to like get one of these weird hermit crabs to like figure out why there's soda pop bottles on people, and it's just because you were tracking dirt around with you. It's your fault in the first place, but he doesn't realize it because he can't. The creature itself is outside of the Home Depot God's understanding. Let me go ahead and put a space in that so it doesn't try and link off to wherever that was trying to. That's a little bit about the motivations behind the Home Depot God and the bastard, I guess. And I talked about Noah a little bit, Crystal a little bit, Daryl a little bit. There's a couple other people that I haven't talked about, and I actually want to like play you guys something. Hopefully this doesn't get muted on After Hours. If it does, I'm just a link off to the correct thing that you need to go watch. So right around when we first started watching this or doing this, me and my wife were super duper into old radio dramas. You can find them on YouTube. And I'm just going to play you guys a clip from episode 240 of Inner Sanctum, which is an old radio program. Let me make sure that I've got the audio set up so you guys can hear. Let me know if you can hear this all right, and see if you can guess where the some of the mannerisms of a couple of characters came from here.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum. This is your host to welcome you in through the squeaking door to another half hour of horror. Come in, won't you? Sit down. I hope you'll forgive me if I don't get up, but I'm terribly tired. I spent last night with a friend who's a book collector, specializes in bestsellers. He certainly showed me some interesting ones. In fact, he tried to bury me in one. Because all the very best sellers have corpses in them.
Why, that's downright silly. Most sellers do not have bodies in them.
But of course they have, Mary. You know the old saying, even the walls have ears.
You certainly don't make a house sound homey at all. Why don't you talk about the kitchen with its good, warm smells of homemade food? Yes, and while you're at it, you should mention Lipton tea, because Lipton's makes good food taste better.
So, yeah, that was the inspiration for at least their speaking patterns. When me and Tilda were watching this, we were like, dude, they are totally like a couple. Raymond is dating Mary. There was a cut line where, like, just Mary would have been just like, when are we getting out of here and just going home and doing stuff? She's just like that. There's no fucking reason for it. She's just like, you know how there are people who are super duper into Disney? That's her thing. That's her weird hobby, is Lipton iced tea, for no reason whatsoever. So, Mary is just a regular human with a weird addiction to shitty tea for no reason whatsoever. I think they're just dating. They're like not like, I don't think that like they actually like, you know, basically like we started listening to Inner Sanctum and both me and my wife were like, I ship that, you know. She has no like magical reason for being like that. She's just super duper into Lipton iced tea. Like, some people are super duper into stuff, and I find that very weird when they're into something that's actually shit. Like, I don't get that when it's something like, I don't know, Disney. I'm just like, the fuck are you, why? It's like not that great. Why are you making this your entire personality? I low-key want to believe that Mary is another side effect of the Home Depot entity that just got teleported through time, and she just kept rolling with that shit. Because, I mean, you all saw what it did to No. Like, imagine you were already kind of weird to begin with. As for Raymond, I feel like some people have already figured this out, but part of the Raymond and Noah beef is that Raymond is like, well, okay, let me put it to you this way. Okay, if I say my headcanon at any point, that's just canon. That's just a thing that is true about this universe now. I'm not used to having written something. Have you ever got... Okay, so I used to work at Randall's, right? I worked at Randall's for a while, right? And I can tell you right now that, like, there's a part of me that when I'm at a grocery store will still, like, just subconsciously pull product forward. Because I worked as a stalker. This weird name for a job. Grocery store. All right, so when you're in a grocery store and you work as a stalker, right? Your job is to take things from the back, from boxes, and you put them on the shelf, right? And you'll see things like this. Like, you see these gaps, right? This is where product is supposed to be, but there's no product there, right? And so, like, you know, you go get product from the back, or maybe it's shoved all the way to the back, and your job would be to pull it forward to the front, right? I'm going somewhere with this, just trust me, okay? I'm still like that. Like, if I take the front thing, like if I were to take like these chips, right? I would not just take the chips, I would take the chips and then pull the other bags forward. I'm still like that after having not worked at Randall's for like, I mean, I worked at Randall's when I was like 17, 18, right? I still remember that the product code for bananas is 4011. There's certain jobs that just kind of stick with you even after you leave them, right? Especially if you're super duper into the job. Like how cops still sort of act like cops after they've retired. Do you know what I mean? How is this related to Raymond and Noah? I'm getting to that. Raymond is retired. He used to be a demon. He still is technically a demon, but he doesn't do that really anymore. But he's still kind of got that in him. And he's not like your standard demon where he like does stuff to like... He's just sort of like, yeah, man, that's a great idea. So when you guys are like, hey, in the last episode, you guys are like, hey, what if I blew up a building and killed a guy? He's like, yeah, fucking rad. I'm about that. When you guys got arrested, like, your reputation with Raymond went up because he was like, everyone in town heard that you got arrested, right? And so Raymond heard, because that's just what being in a small town is like. And he's like, ah, okay. Cool. Rad. So it explains a great deal about his behavior. So another thing that's going on between Noah and Raymond, that explaining that whole thing, is that, you know, when, I mean, I guess let's just get into the questions on the subreddit. I'm going to kind of answer these in whatever order I feel like answering. Someone asked what the deal with the barbecue was. I'm going to answer that one real quick since we're already on that point. Oh, wow. I have no idea how to use Reddit, it turns out. Let's see. Here we go. Should be on this one. Okay. What was up with Raymond and the barbecue? Was that just a power move to get Noah out of his comfort zone? Do you plan on doing anything about him? What's the deal between them anyway? So Raymond sees Noah as someone who has this gift of this super rad curse that Noah is actively trying to get rid of. he's actively trying to stop being, tortured by. But Raymond is like, dude, greed's great. What are you talking about? Oh, Ding Dong VG, thank you for the raid. Holy shit. We are doing a breakdown on a thing I did. I basically did D&D with chat, and I'm explaining all of the stuff that happened during that. So super duper spoilers for a D&D like campaign. So lore and spoilers right now. But thank you for the raid, my dude. I guess I could go ahead and thank a couple people who resubbed in the meantime. Oops, all spoilers. Yes. Luigi Guy, thank you for the 53 months of support. Ding Dong VG did raid me just now. Yes, thank you. Howdy. And then V Babo, thank you for the 6 months of support. Could it be Ding Dong VG Vinesauce crossover? I mean, dude, I need to get into doing stuff with other streamers more. If you want to hit me up, dude, we could play Fall Guys or Among Us or whatever. But yeah, this is definitely one of the worst times to raid, because I'm just straight up spoiling everything about how this campaign went and everything I was doing with it. It was Twitch integrated D&Ds, how I explain it to people. Chat was able to vote based on what they wanted to do, etc., etc. Do I know who that person is? Off the top of my head, I have seen them around, but I am really bad about knowing anything about streaming or YouTube. You guys don't have to leave. I'm just, yeah. I didn't know I needed to shut off my computer every day until about a month ago. I upgraded to Windows 10 six days ago. Windows 10 has been out for 5 years. I upgraded to it last Saturday. I didn't know I needed to clean out my computer regularly. My point, what I'm trying to get at here is, I don't know a goddamn thing about YouTube or Twitch or anything. And yet somehow this is what I do for a living. So if I don't know, who people are, my bad. I barely understand anything about the universe or computers. Rev Boomer, thank you. But anyway, getting back to the deal with Raymond. So yeah, anyway, he saw the whole thing with Noah having this curse being super rad. He was like, dude, why are you fighting that? That's awesome. And Noah was extremely aware of what Raymond was, but being a good guy, didn't want you to hate him, but simultaneously didn't want to be messing with him. So their beef was at that level, that a demon is literally just a fallen angel. And so it's this guy can repent just the way that I have. He can get his shit together, and I believe in him. But he's got to come around. And so Noah was trying to help Raymond while Raymond was trying to corrupt Noah. And that is a large part of what that barbecue offer was hey, Raymond doesn't want to get his shit together because he's having a fucking awesome time being a demon. there's a lot. If you go back and listen to a lot of the things that Noah said, you'll notice a little bit of that greed thing pop up, and just like it's very subtle in the way that I said it. Like I didn't try to play it up too much because I know he's actively trying to like keep his shit together, but he doesn't quite have it yet. So anyway, let's scroll up to the top and just answer from the top. So starting out this one from, these are all Figgy Friends questions here, so I'm going to answer these. If you haven't already, nice. Didn't mean to favorite that. Just hit a whole bunch of buttons. Remove bookmark. There we go. Go and answer or ask questions in there, and I'll make sure I answer them just from top to bottom. So, is everyone the Bastard 8 alive now? No? Question mark? So, in the timeline that Noah is from, both his original one and the one that they ended up in, they're not alive anymore. They got taken. But the Home Depot entity continuing to just want to know what the hell is going on. I'm sorry, I got their pronouns messed up. I'm sorry, y'all. Continuing to just want to know, like, what the fuck is going on with this whole, like, sewer bastard thing. Just stole versions of all of the different people from other dimensions just to see what the fuck would happen. So it's like the version of Elise from that specific timeline is gone, but Elise was taken from a completely different timeline, perhaps one where like No died in a car crash or something, and was thrown back into this other timeline just because he wanted to see what the fuck would happen. He wanted to see if people would remember him, because you have memories of people, sort of, kind of, but not really. So, like, some of the people were brought over, some of them weren't. So, like, technically the Bastard ate a whole bunch of people. Elise is dead. But Elise is also still alive and just had a really weird night one night and is now waking up and just... She assumes it had something to do with, like, the explosion that happened that everyone was talking about, and, you know, just, it's fine, you know? It's not your Elise, it's a Elise. It's still related to you because, you know, you guys are related in that way, but, like, it's a different Elise, but it's still Elise. Saving that explicit version of Elise, the alternative there was the Home Depot entity could have not done anything. And she knows about y'all. Exactly. As far as everything appears from your timeline, everything is fine. From a different timeline entirely, there's a timeline where a bunch of people just went missing for no reason and then showed up somewhere else. And everyone in that one other version of time is confused where everyone went and never gets a good solid answer on what happened. But in the specific version of time that you guys are in this timeline, everyone is there. Okay, hold up. Let me draw a graph to make this easier. Flamidus, thank you for the 38 months of support. So let's imagine, most of the time when you imagine time, it's like, you know, a line, and then you got like, you know, maybe an alternate timeline and it's red, but more or less it's just going to be a fuck ton of lines, like lines that are right up against each other, right? Because the difference between, you know, one line and another could be as much as like the jiggling of a certain particle happens a different way, or this is string theory, more or less. Understanding string theory makes all of this make more sense. So let's say this is the timeline of events for you. The original timeline is this one. And then we got another timeline right here. Right? And let's say that this is the timeline that Elise was in, the original Elise that you know. Let's say Elise dies at this point, right? And continues to do so in all of their points, right? But what if you just took, like, I don't know, this part of Elise and just go, bonk. Everything's fine now, right? The difference between the red line and the black line is literally maybe a particle jiggled a different way, one way or another at some point. So whether or not this is or is not Elise, technically speaking, it is. It's just not specifically the one Elise that you know where a particle moved one certain way that you didn't perceive somewhere in, like, Pluto, you know? And because everyone is aware of the fact that someone called Elise exists to some degree or another, like there's evidence to believe that someone like that exists, and then the bastard dies, and then you have information to believe, you know, all of that information comes back to you that Elise is a thing, a person, right? You get that information back, and if there wasn't an Elise there, it would just be like, everyone's gone and dead. Right? But the Home Depot god was like, I can fix this. I'll just take this one from over here and put it over there. As far Elise has all the red Elise in this diagram has all the same memories that the Elise that No knows does. Everyone got the implications of, I wouldn't say Home Depot god is doing things to be good, but he literally just has no idea what's going on, and he just wanted to see what would happen if he did this. Again, this is not him being nice. This is just, what happens if I do this? The Home Depot entity was able to pick up an Elise from a different timeline before she was taken. Yeah, that sounds about right. Legend Cascade. Short version, if there are infinite Elises, we had Elise Leon that got eaten, and then Elise 69420 was taken from an alternate dimension and placed where Elise Leon was. But as far as Elise 69420 is concerned, it's fine, right? Like, they wake up one day and they feel kind of crummy, but then they find out that there was this massive explosion in town. And the doctors are like, hey, this explosion seems to have affected a lot of people and made them feel like, you know, because of the shockwaves or something. We don't know. But it's messed with some people and not other people. Maybe it's just some people are more sensitive to it. Just, you know. There you go. And then she's like, okay, I must be one of those people. Daryl is aware of her going missing, but assumes that everything is fine. The alternate version of this ending, which I thought was too cruel, was that the Home Depot entity was just like, cool, peace, I'm out. And then you kill the bastard, and then you just realize that everyone's gone. You know? And I thought that was too cruel. And it also meant that there would be no Town of Nowhere 2. There'd be no way of coming back to these people. You feel bad for the other dimension? No. The other dimension, no, just may have been one that died in a bus accident. You know? And I'll be real with you guys. This created a great deal of stress and depression for me, because I was like, I don't have a logical reason for this for the longest time. And then I realized the Home Depot entity is a bastard and does weird shit for no reason. He might be just fucking around to see what happened. So, like, what happens if I put Elise back? What happens if I put all these people back? Does anyone notice the difference? You know? Do I have any other video parts that I could show you? Yes. But let me continue answering all these questions first, because that's one of the questions, and I'll get to that one. What about Elise's baby? Whatever I just said, that, again, was No always like that? I don't like to try and say what No was like or what No's personality is like. It's part of the reason that I didn't say, traditionally in the Bible, whenever a demon or a god, or an angel would show up, everyone just got like freaked the fuck out, and the angel would just straight up say, "Don't be afraid. I know I'm scary as fuck, but don't be afraid." I just decided, you know what? If chat doesn't get freaked out by Raymond when he shows up, then chat isn't freaked up like that by that. Like, they saw Noah eat a human being live straight in front of them, and then was like, man, fuck yeah, that's hot. So it's like, okay, I'll just straight up put a demon there and see what chat does about it, So to answer your question, was No always like that? I like to think so. I would imagine that is part of it. Did we really kill the bastard or just reverse some or all the damage? You killed the bastard. The way that it attacks, it has to come into, somewhat of our dimension in order to be able to attack things. So, the explosion worked as intended, but would also kill anyone else in the building. And as far as reversing all the damage, I kind of answered that already. Does anyone else have their memories? Yeah, this stuff. Yep, you guys remember, but again, it's weird. How did I come up with the bastard in the time shenanigans? I think I kind of already went over that. How did I come up with the story? I think I kind of went over that. Did the story change overall? I didn't expect you guys to be horny for Noah. So Noah got a lot more screen time than he would have normally. I expected that Raymond would have been a bigger part, and it would have been like the whatever the Home Depot entity was doing would have been what Raymond was doing. But after you met the Home Depot entity, it's like, oh yeah, the Home Depot entity absolutely would be able to give you a hell of a lot more information than the guy who runs the nail salon. Like a multi-dimensional being, or the guy who paints your nails kind of shitty. Like, which one do you think is going to be the guy that knows more stuff? So should have expected that one. Fair enough. I would say that was like one of the major changes, was just like, okay, cool. Like, what does the Home Depot entity know, and what are the motivations of the Home Depot entity, and how do we work that into what needs to happen? How did the characters change? Noah got fleshed out more. Gerald got fleshed out more. If you've watched the D&D session that we did, you'll know that Gerald is less of a bastard in this one. He was kind of an asshole in the D&D session. Intentionally so. He had a low wisdom score, so he just caused problems on purpose. Were there characters and assets that we didn't get to use? Can we see them? Yes. There was a moment in the last session where I was supremely afraid that you guys would go and try and meet yourself. And that would have been fine. If you had met yourself, it would have been that timeline version of yourself in the same way that the whole Elise thing happened. So I had to quickly, during that session, this is one of the things that is nice about this art aesthetic that I did, was I made this on the fly during the session. Like, just straight up. here's some like random bits and bobs that were used for different things for different people, that kind of thing. I guess I should mention the Home Depot employees. Similar situation to what happened with yeah, I edited that up during the session. Originally the whatchamacallit, originally Kevin was gonna have legs like this, but I thought that was weird and I didn't really like it, so I ended up just like keeping it. Kevin is made out of these little pom-poms, edited together. Here's this guy. Fucking hate him in HD. He's just a bastard. And the weird thing about Roger is he doesn't do anything. He just acts like a normal cop. Like, he's just, I hate him though. Let's see. Indoor locations. Let's see. Items. This is generally how things were edited, was just like in folders like this. Let's see. Don't use until ready. This was 1,000 different iterations of the what was it? The Happening. And all of the different stuff that went into making that. And quick thing I want to say, everyone who's like, the bastard, he's kind of hot, he's kind of thick. Just want to put you guys on blast real quick. Let's find a version of this. Let's see, is it this one? All right. So we got test.png, test.gif. So early versions of the bastard. The cracking sound, by the way, is literally just my wrist. Like, I can just do that. And I just layered it a few times. Different versions of the bastard moving. The jiggle version of him. Before I had gotten it all together. Here's one where I didn't edit out my arms, and he was just going to be a creepy dude. And I was like, that's boring, and that sucks. And it's just straight up me. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to make it like a weird bird person, because I think that's cool. So yeah, I just rotoscoped it. Let's see. So yeah, here's the rotoscoped like frames. I didn't clean the the living room to do this. It's just like, I was like, I'm just gonna film myself doing this thing, and then I'm gonna rotoscope it later. So there I am, being thick as fuck. And then here's the thing I didn't know. I shouldn't have been writing or using a striped shirt for this. It's bad. Trying to rotoscope this was kind of shit. I hate it. He was also going to like grip the edges of the frame and break the frame at one point. That was going to be a thing, to further cement that this is something that's acting outside of the ways that this reality is supposed to work. I could not get it to work aesthetically in a way that I liked, so I ended up not doing that. Let's see. Test version, final version, hopefully. GIF ending, eyes. So then here's every single frame individually, rotoscoped again. Here's the blood splattering, so that way you guys knew shit was fucked. Mirror start of the end, final version possibly. All the jiggles. Took me forever to get the jiggles out. And then, yeah, his eyes were going to do a thing, and I was just like, it's weird too. And then, where is the original file still here? Is it this? Nope, that's just me walking around doing the thing. Let's see. I think I saved it in here, but I can't find it. I don't know. It's somewhere in there. Several screens that you guys didn't see were if you guys didn't immediately go to the library the day you were supposed to return the like you were supposed to return the books, there were several sprites related to him just like hanging out. I just prepared all of them in advance. That way he could have just been there wherever you guys ended up going. Let's see. Map. Already looked over that stuff. Mirror stuff. A shitty version of it was, what if I just did this and then ended the session? I was like, that sucks. I got to do an animatic because I hate myself and I have to do an animation. So instead of it being like reasonable or some way I could actually do this in any sort of way, I'm gonna have to do that instead. Let's see. Sketch. Yeah, the different songs used. Don't screw up .png. Oh, this is when I was designing the shirt that's available at rev.ownage. How big is the file size for the Town of Nowhere? It is 2.5 gigs, not counting the writing that's on my notebook that's outside of the thing. Let's see. I think I got everything. Don't use until ready. I can't for the life of me find this version where it's like... Yeah, here are all the different songs. Is this just the music? Yeah, this is just the music. When you're walking around in the halls. I should show that. That would be good. Do I have that still? Yeah, here. Give me 1 second to set this up. Think I've still got this. How do you make your music? The music and the Home Depot, his speech was made in Fruity Loops. Someone called that. Let's see if I can get a screen region of Gary's mod going real quick. Yeah, I know it's already in use. Capture specific. Oh, that's it. It's meant to be a game capture. Can we do that? Specific window. Gary's mod. Okay. There you go. So some of the scenes in the game were done using Gary's mod. Namely, anything that I couldn't find good things. I like the Hey You playlist. And the reason that Scream, by the way, is added into the playlist for the Town of Nowhere is a nod to the 1980s thing where, and again, it was going to be like over the top, like kind of stuff, like not Day of the Dead necessarily, but what is the name of that movie with This Is My Boomstick, like that level stuff where it's like all right, so what's no clip again? I believe the jail cell is over here. How do I turn on a flashlight? I think I can just turn it up. But here is the piping system for the town of nowhere. This was that way I could much easier like much more easily make this a thing. V is the flashlight. God, that is doing fuck all, if anything. The jail cell that Noah's in is somewhere in here. I can't find it because it's dark, but it's in there somewhere. And then the tunnels for the sewers were made using this. And then a little extra light sources here and there. You guys just beelined it straight towards the Home Depot. F's flashlight, that's not working either. I don't know why. But yeah, this is how I did a lot of the editing for that. So that way you guys could wander around. I had a whole thing written out to make sure that you guys would get around to where you needed to be. But yeah, that's how some of the scenes were made. Specifically like the ladder, which I think I destroyed because I just didn't have room. Yeah, here's where the ladder was for when you guys were climbing down it. That's where it was. And then here's the inside version of that ladder and so on and so forth. And then I just ended up cleaning up in GIMP afterwards to make it look good. So there's the behind the scenes on how I did that whole scene. Let's see. So yeah, I was going to mention it. The Home Depot employees are sort of being used in the same way that No is, and that they were thrown from other dimensions and other times to work at Home Depot in order to investigate. But they really couldn't get it together, which is part of the reason that No was brought in. Some of them are just townspeople. Some of them are from other places. So they legitimately have no idea what's going on. But everyone is like, yeah, people work at Home Depot. I don't remember who, but those guys are wearing Home Depot outfits. So I guess they work at Home Depot. Let's see. How's Noah's relationships after prison? I would imagine that Noah would be concerned and confused. Raymond would think you were rad. Kevin didn't go to prison. A lot of people were kind of under the understanding that he did. He was fine. He stayed out of it and was able to drop off all those letters that you guys wanted him to. Will there be a Town of Nowhere 2? Yes. Theories that were correct. I've kind of gone over a bunch of those. In general, broad swaths. How did you expect the story to go? What kind of exciting stuff did we miss? Like I said, I'd plan one or two things that I would expect to happen in a session and see how it went. I'll refresh the questions once I get to the bottom. But generally speaking, outside of a few weird anomalies that I didn't expect, like the insistence of trying to go and meet the other No, I was too subtle with some of my hints, and so I had to be more explicit as it went on, because stuff like the sound stuff, I just didn't have the audio levels set up well enough. So I don't know how you would have found that. Let's see. Why are there... Okay, so then Chaotic Nowhere asks, why are there monsters in the Town of Nowhere? Because it's better if there are. Home Depot entity said that mirrors are wrong. What did he mean by that? He didn't really get why he could see things that were different in mirrors, just the same way that you did. That wasn't something he had experienced before, and he didn't really get why. So that's what he was referencing, is he just didn't understand why mirrors were like that. How and why Noah's curse? Would there be a way to undo it? Theoretically, but probably not. He's mortal after all. I don't think he can really get beyond that. So I think he will forever have a low level of greed that he can't get beyond. What about the ages of the characters? So this is a question I asked, or that was asked to me on, I gotta figure out what taxis are. Hold on, guys. Enter password? No, I just want to... Oh, I'm trying to get into Chaotic Nowheres. Tumblr. Okay. I think it's trying to log me into Chaotic Nowhere's thing. But yeah, there was a Tumblr ask that at some point that was like, how old is everyone? And Raymond is suspiciously old, for obvious reasons now. Everyone else kind of is the age that you would expect, considering the information that I've given so far. So that's why everyone's the ages they are. A lot of things are being said here. Blah blah blah. What is Elise like? What did she think of No? I like to think that Elise is a much more. I don't know. If you guys have any siblings, I think you're either probably the quiet one or the chaotic one. I feel like Elise is probably the quiet one, the one that's more or less forced to get her shit together because No didn't. So she grew up a lot faster as a result. I don't know what they named the baby. I would assume that it still hasn't been born yet. I imagine they do have names in mind. I'm not good at naming people, so there's that. What was up with Raymond and the barbecue? Answered that. Do you have full names for everyone, at least the major NPCs? Most of the names were references in one way or another. Mary is a reference, obviously, to Mary from Inner Sanctum. Raymond is the name of the actor who played the host on Inner Sanctum. So that's why he's called Raymond. Noah is obviously a good biblical name. Kevin is named after one of the first people to set up a library in America. This is Town of Nowhere spoilers, yes. Captain Hungry Spy. Thank you for the 40 months of support. This is the Q&A for Town of Nowhere. The names are more or less just I made them make some sort of cognitive sense with myself. Last names, I'm not good with last names. I believe Mary's last name is Bennett, and I can't remember what Raymond's last name is. And I don't think I wrote it down anywhere. But I remember explicitly Mary Bennett being a name. Because I remember Raymond addressing her as such. I may not have even given Raymond a last name. I think that was one detail that I just didn't think of. Is there any character you're disappointed that we didn't interact with more? No, I wanted you guys to experience it the way you guys wanted to. And every decision you made some level of logical sense to me. Like hanging out with the Home Depot entity made a lot of sense because, yeah, of course you would. It's a creature that experiences time in a completely different way than you. That's awesome. Like, hang out with that guy. He clearly is going to be helping you, right? What is your biggest takeaway from the creation process of the Town of Nowhere that you want to apply in the next campaign? There is a recommendation to put the stats to be lower, like 1 to 10. I think that's probably reasonable. Like, less than, like, don't make 100 the max. Make it a little bit smaller, a little bit more manageable. I think the main thing I wanted to do in the next one, which I finally worked out the aesthetic for, and I actually can draw it now. I've actually gotten the art together. And I actually should probably post those sketches to patreon.com/RevScarecrow, where I'm supposed to post all my sketches when I remember to do so. That's not me trying to plug that. It's just me saying that that's the thing. And some of the weird things that have been asking in chat as of recently might make a level of sense. One of the biggest takeaways that I have for the Town of Nowhere is that if you showed up session 3 or 4, is what the fuck is going on? Like, what is actually happening in this? And I couldn't explain it in a concise way. Like, my attempts to do the last time on Town of Nowhere were attempts to fix that problem, but concisely explaining the plot of what's happened in the Town of Nowhere, that's not good. And I feel like some of the mysteries, like the silence thing, was not easy to figure out. A lot of the stuff that I'm saying right now, I don't feel like was easy to find out. So I want it to be more direct about the information. Stuff like, how people were able to figure out that Raymond's a demon. Like, being able to figure that out is, like, cool. Are we going to ignore that ad selling lightsabers? 100% we are, yes. So I think the biggest takeaway that I'm going to have a big overarching plot, something along the lines of where the fuck is my sister, but have it more be about, like, interpersonal interactions, because that seemed to be what chat was enjoying the most. And the silence thing was confusing and contrived. And it was kind of one of those things that it's like, there's a reason that people still haven't solved the stuff in the Death Stranding I don't know anything about video. People just had no idea what the fuck was going on with that, and there's no reward for figuring it out, so why would you? Like, that ARG is still ongoing, and no one has any idea what it is. So, and you have to know, like, 2 languages and, like, music theory to even have a chance at figuring out what the fuck is going on. So I need to back away from that kind of shit and just make it stuff like what's going on between Raymond and Noah. That kind of shit. That is much better, and people really enjoyed that. It's also just one of those things that, like, the bastard is, one of my fears is just because I'm ADD and I'm forgetful, just, not having my shit together. Did I hide music in the music of Town of Nowhere? No. In the I don't know anything about Death Stranding video I did. There's bunches of random shit in there. Trying to figure out what's going on with that, I just feel like was too difficult to do. And isn't good for the story, so I'm going to back away from that kind of stuff, and like I said, try and make it more about interpersonal stuff and large plot stuff, and not do time stuff, because even though I've explained it tonight, I feel like people are still confused. So yeah, there's messages in the music in the I don't know anything about Death Stranding thing. Did I forget this, or did something happen to it? Yeah, that's one of my fears, and I just ramped it up to 11. Also, just like friends I haven't talked to in a while. Are they okay? Are they gone? Like, sometimes, like, they're friends that I know that I don't know if they're okay. Like, I don't know where they are. They've just completely ghosted, completely online. And there's a chance that they're dead. I don't know. That's a fear for me. That's something that scares the shit out of me. And it's just like, why don't we just ramp that up to 11 and make that scary, those are the kind of things that I wanted to have happen, because that's horror. Like, also, and this one is like a little less existential, but the idea of having to go into the sewer system backwards, that's scary. Like, that it showed up behind you was scary. That's good. I enjoy that. So yeah. Let's see. So that's, if you haven't already gone over it, the designs for the sewer bastard and what inspired his look and powers. Bird-like, because I think that's red, and also he was more humanoid looking. He had a fetus sort of look at one point, but that wasn't as threatening. It didn't like move around. It was just going to be like veins and arteries like strapped to the inside of the sewer pipes, and that I didn't have a good reason on how he's moving about, and so it didn't really work. He looked a bit like that. Not so much that he was like a heart stuck into a like system of veins and stuff. but sort of like a fetus. That was scary. That's scary looking. So yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that. Regarding the Town of Nowhere OCs, since everyone's now unforgotten, is there a chance we might run into some fan-made characters? The ones that the Home Depot entity decided to bring back, if he felt like it was relevant. He mainly just, I think, wanted to see what No's reaction to any of that was. A while ago, you mentioned a Town of Nowhere related painting. It might be too spoilery at that point. What was that painting idea? Oh God, was it Saint Michael and the demons? Saint fighting demons. This one. I wanted to redo this, but with a shit ton of Raymonds and Noah. That's kind of off center, so you guys can't see it, but Saint Anthony, apparently. Because that's essentially what Noah is dealing with. Is he's constantly being attacked and tortured, but like, you know, he's trying to be good. He's trying to get his shit together, but he really doesn't. I think the interplay between those two characters is fun. What's Mary's deal? Why is she obsessed with Leptin tea? She's just fucking like that. Is Oscar okay? Nope. Does that mean that No, Gerald, and Kevin are fugitives? Just No and Gerald. The Home Depot entity teleported them out, mainly just for shits and giggles. How does the rest of the town feel about the explosion? I mean, like, all of them met No, and I think you can kind of expect. Does Gerald still like us? Yeah, he still likes you, because he knows that you guys did the right thing. This was a lot of the comments on YouTube, just people being like, hey, thank you for making this. And just for realsies, like, I am absolutely fucking honored that you guys decided to spend your time with me and to give a shit about this weird project that I did. And that reminds me, I need to look at the comments on YouTube. Just thank you guys. Again, like I was saying earlier, this only works because you guys kind of played the yes and of this. Like, you agreed to go along with the premise to some degree. Town of Nowhere doesn't work if No immediately punches out the glass of Starbucks and eats glass. You know? Like, the thread probably has new questions, but I haven't gotten all the way through the questions that were already asked like 6 days ago. So, yeah, no. As much as you guys are like, thank you, Rev. No, thank you guys. Because I couldn't have been able to do it without you guys. If we learned too much about the characters that mess with them, no, because I haven't told you guys everything. There's still more shit going on, but I'm not going to get into all of it. What's Raymond's whole deal? Explain that. Do Ab and No still exist? They still exist, yeah. And that's going to be a fun issue to have to deal with. Could we have met our past self? Yes. It would have been fine. It would have been... You probably would have made out, I'm going to assume. I had to, like, mentally prep myself for role-playing as No. Have I played Doom Eternal? I have not at all, no. Unlock. Would Raymond still do our nails even after the tiny murders? Yep. What happened to the OG? No. It's fine. Just chilling. Has that version of that timeline is the timeline where the hotel blows up or the motel blows up, and it's just like, what the fuck? That's weird. How would I have RP'd as NPC? No. Would have flirted with you a lot. I think that's on brand. Cause like weird gremlin that they hadn't seen before immediately coming up to them and start talking to them. Yeah, I think that would happen. Thank you again. There's just 2 no's walking around now. What is the Home Depot entity? Answered that. Answered this one. How did you originally plan for it to end? I think I went into that. And I think that ending would have sucked. And it gave me tense depression because I couldn't figure out how to write around it. Is there anything you expected that people would catch on to the silent stuff? Let's see. The interactions between characters and what that meant. How the fact that there's no one else working at Starbucks. Little things like that. Basically everything I've talked about today. But it's not a big deal. The universe is fully fleshed out. If there are bits that you don't get, I think, to some degree. When you have to explain what a midichlorian is, it gets dumb. What are your thoughts on the story? I thought it went great. There are a lot of parts that the original bit that I had written was worse than how it was forced to turn out. Because it was just like, oh, shit. Well, that means that character's motivation doesn't make any sense anymore because of what No just did. So, because their personality is this, because they had these life experiences, this is their reaction to that. Now, this whole thing has to happen. The bank being robbed, for instance, was obviously not something I had scripted, but just like No asked for money, and it's like, okay, how does the Home Depot entity help with that? Sure, you want money? Yeah, there's some lying around over here. I don't know. Fuck it. You're here. And then that created everything that happened after that. So that kind of stuff would happen. I've talked about the Home Depot entity a lot, but I mean, like, that kind of stuff happened with like Gerald. Like, Gerald originally did not have as big of a part, but I felt like that you guys needed a friend to fall back on to some degree. And after the Home Depot entity was like, all right, peace. There were definitely some hard feels there, but like, he was a bastard from the beginning, you know? True Form did that. The animation is, again, if you can scroll back far enough through my Twitter account, you can actually see me asking, like, hey, how do I get onion slices of a 3D model? That's when I was making the Home Depot entity, way back then. But that was like over a year ago. How would it turn out? I think it turned out better because, I mean, journal DMing tip. If your story is too sacred to have players interact with it, then just write a book. I had a premise on how I wanted things to go, and then y'all messed with that and changed it, and it made it better because I was like, cool, all right, we're rolling with that. You need money? Sure, we're robbing the bank. You want to learn how to do magic? We're doing that. We're learning magic now, you know? You want to get your nails done by this demon? Sure. What were the first ideas that were cut and put in the final product? That kind of stuff was just like, you know, I feel like we've kind of gone over that. The whole like 1980s, like it was, the zombies were attacking the Denny's because secretly it was built on top of a ancient burial ground, and there's a necromancer who's trying to get back the ring, but then there was like I don't know, like just as corny and shitty as possible with that kind of stuff. That's what the original Home Depot thing was going to be, but it's just like, I could make it better. It's not that good. Oh, spooky. And there'd be like random events, but it would be like you were stuck in the Denny's. I wanted you guys to be able to explore. What are your thoughts on the player character of Nowhere? Any ideas for the player character that weren't present in the final version? I originally, like I said, was going to make them a detective, but decided against that because I was like, I'm going to let chat decide. I'm going to let chat decide what's going on. And then I did, and it turned into something that I would not have written. I'm much more comfortable writing dudes, just because I am one. I have that experience of being a dude. I know what being a dude is like. So main character, when I role play characters, I generally make dudes. I would not have come up with the idea of making a non-binary gremlin child. Y'all did. It was a better story for it. It turns out that that's not how identical twins work. Incidentally, I guess if I decided that Noah was a dude, it would have implicitly made no trans or intersex, I think. So it's like, cool. Chat fixed my one problem. Like, that was one logical inconsistency that I had no way of writing myself out of, and then chat wrote me out of it. How many packs of action did you take into mind when you were making Town of Nowhere? Generally speaking, stuff would be planned out as, like, today at this specific time, like morning, there's going to be a church service that Noah is going to do. And then during that service, he's going to say these things. And then after that, I'm going to leave some time for y'all to do some stuff. And then another event will happen. And then everything else in between there had to be kind of like rolled with, you know? And y'all made up the connective tissue between major plot points. Well, yeah, I mean, it's like y'all are like, oh, it makes me feel good for the rep. That's the thing, is I wouldn't have thought to do that, but y'all made a better story. That's, again, if you're going to be a DM, just let chat, let your players break your story. You helped, right? Like, you can't just be like, no, this is mine, this is sacred. You guys just get to sit around and listen to me read you a story that I haven't written, but I'm just gonna like make up on the spot. That's weird, you know? Maybe the real devs was the chat we had along the way. Anyway, what was Mary's whole deal? She just really likes Lipton iced tea. What's Noah's lore? Got into that. What's Raymond's lore? Got into that. What is this thing? I think I got into that. We got that. I think I talked about that. I like this theory. I think that it is entirely possible that some versions, some of the Home Depot employees are No in disguise. And in fact, one of them in the story, as you know, is. Why did Raymond suck at painting nails? He's a bird demon, so birds don't have that part of the brain that allows them to do that kind of thing. So, that. He's trying his best. He just doesn't have fine motor skill. Please tell us about that. There are two no's. There's two no's. Will Ab continue to practice magic? A lot of the stuff involving No and Ab, as far as like what were they like before and what were they like afterwards. I don't want to answer, but I like to think that No has always been like this. And as well, I would assume that given the idea that magic is real, there's a lot of things that No would do with that, I think, if given enough time. They had like 3 days to figure out how to do anything with it. And they basically learned how to change the color of paper. And they didn't really get much beyond that. But I feel like No would probably continue working on that, you know? What is the deal with Sam in the tunnel? He used that to get to and from work because he can't go outside during the day, but people need to do banking during the day. You're not going to wake up at like midnight to go and get like your banking done. That's weird. Yeah, definitely write Town of Nowhere fanfics. I would read the shit out of that. Can we have an explanation? Can we sequel Gerald? And no, please. I think it would be rad to do a sequel where, yeah, we'll just go with yes. I think that should be a thing. Let me see if there's any new questions that we can get to. What is the significance of the cake barf on the bridge? That is, with all the shit that was going on during the happening. Can I pull that up real quick? Let me see if I can. I don't think I have the original source file on this hard drive anymore. Let me see if I've got like, yeah, I think is this a private window? No. Okay. Just like opening private windows for this kind of stuff. The happening. Where is this one? Ah, here we go. Okay. And then where is it? It's somewhere in this region. Yeah, dude, my heart was fucking out of my chest during this entire scene. Like this whole thing here, like for different reasons. No blood here. I knew exactly what was gonna happen, and it scared the shit out of me that you guys were even thinking about breaking out and leaving. Let's see. Here we go. It's right around here. And this is like me taking a deep breath before I pull the trigger. Tilda, please. I would like to, I mean, like, especially about stuff involving No and No's personality outside of what's going on, I feel like is super legit. Because No should be doing stuff outside of my control. So here's a couple things that are going on that I feel like chat had a hard time understanding. A couple things are happening here. The lights are flashing. That's just the flashlight going out on you. Also, if you notice, if you watch it real carefully, the stats flash here and go from whatever your stats were to question marks as it like begins its attack. This took me like weeks to get together. The explanation of what's going on here is just No traveling through multiple different dimensions, experiencing just teleporting into different areas of the world and not knowing what the fuck is going on. So the being in different places is literally just there. That bridge is when you barfed. Because this is tripping you the fuck out. So, to answer the throw up, it was literally you threw up because of the cake, because you ate cake, like, just prior to that. This took forever to get done. Chat was losing their fucking mind the first time this happened. It was great. I really like doing exactly this kind of bullshit. That there's all this build up for something, and then this crescendo, the cascade effect. Thank you, Anna. I intend on doing more of this kind of thing in the next session, in the next series, because that was good. I liked that. That made me happy. It freaked me the fuck out, and I was like, oh god, this is scary. It's yeah. Where was the questions? But yeah, that's what that vomit is. It's literally like you ate cake just prior to going to this, like doing the teleport and vomiting. It also, again, movement because you were walking outside the bounds of the reality that I had established. Like, these are the borders of reality. This is the screen. This is the window for the game. This is what you can handle. Like, this is everything that exists. The times where I broke those rules were the Home Depot entity, the bastard, and you being pulled through time. I planned on you guys eating cake. Yeah, 100%. A lot of stuff I was able to predict to some degree of accuracy. That you guys would probably eat cake, and that you guys would end up on that kind of thing. Like, you would end up having to use the reset. What if for some reason we refuse to eat the cake? Who knows? What moment pulled your heartstrings the most? Fuck. Interactions with Kevin and Gerald, especially. Family mostly. What the hell was up with Jonathan Briscoe? Straight up, a couple things about Jonathan Briscoe. 1, just a normal dude. 2, you claimed you had never seen a truck before, and it freaked him the fuck out because you were standing next to a truck when you had that conversation. Jonathan Briscoe is absolutely the kind of name of a Ford dealership guy. 3, that episode, just depression hit me like a fucking freight train right when you guys got to him. There was a different storyline written out that if you decided to go talk to him instead of Gerald, that he would have tried to have accomplished a lot of things that Gerald did, but without magic. So yeah, part of the reason he started acting really weird is the depression hit me like all at once right during that scene. And so it's just like, dude, I have to stop this. This is bad. So there was a entire written out thing that, like, if you had gotten to the point that Gerald had gone missing, there was an entire letter written out from Gerald to no. And there was an alternative version that was more or less the same sort of thing written by Jonathan Briscoe. That was more or less the same thing. Let's see. Where? No, it was somewhere along the lines of, let's see. Leaving evidence is dangerous. This would have been probably left at the Starbucks. Leaving evidence is dangerous. I don't know. I know, but I don't know if I'll see you before I'm taken. It knows I know, and I don't, and it does not want to be known. And that would have been like the last words from Funkmaster J. That Crystal would have given you, just been like, hey, there was a letter on the table here. It had your name on it. Don't leave your trash here. Just literally had no idea who the fuck it was from. Had no idea who Gerald was in that timeline. So yeah, you guys ended up saving Gerald. The Gerald that you are on the run with is the same Gerald. She wouldn't have read it, but you guys would have. Because the real Gerald ended up not getting killed, because the Gerald in the timeline that you guys are in now, the Gerald that you ended up making friends with is the same Gerald continuously. The first Gerald that you spoke to is the Gerald from the original timeline, obviously. As the town of nowhere over for now. This story arc is over, and this is the Q&A for it. So I will go back up to the top and read your stuff in a minute. Any theories on the Reddit you saw? I'm so happy that I called him. Yeah. He's not literally the devil, but yeah. After an hour after Town of Nowhere ended, I realized we should have. So this is a thing I think you sent me on Tumblr, and I didn't answer it because I figured it might be spoilers. Because if I had answered it on Tumblr, then people who hadn't watched it yet, who were invested, would have gotten spoiled, and so I just opted not to answer this one on Tumblr. So I apologize, Dragonmons. That's the reason I didn't answer you. You edited your answer. It's still got. I'll go ahead and refresh just to be sure. So apologize for that. Gonna answer it now. An hour after it ended, I realized we should have tried to take Chris's place. He didn't have a choice in acting as bait, but we could have made that decision. We could have potentially gotten him to leave the motel, and we could have waited in the lobby for the bastard after changing the dead man's switch rather than letting the man who didn't sign up for die. We could have taken responsibility and done it instead. There were 2 no's, so our sacrifice wouldn't have killed the other person. I don't know if that would have worked, but I wish I could have realized that during the stream. 100% would have worked, yes. The self-sacrifice ending would have been something that I would have rolled with, yes. What are some other moments and motivations that were affected by No's action? Pretty much everything in one way or another. I've been thinking about the ending of Town of Nowhere for days now. I was incredibly concerned that you guys would hate the ending. Which I guess, one last thing that you guys didn't notice. And this one is just like a cheeky, like, tee-hee, I'm so clever kind of ending thing. Watch real carefully the map. Just watch the map. See if you can recognize what's wrong with the map. This is just me being a little shit. I'm gonna make this shit go away. Australia is right there, guys. No, the U.S. is... What are you guys talking about? The U.S. is entirely there. What the fuck? I think I forgot Hawaii. Actually, that wasn't what I was supposed to be pointing out. No. Actually, if you notice, just off the coast of South America, there's a small island that doesn't exist on any actual map. And that is... if you go by the coordinates that Lovecraft gave for Relia, where Cthulhu waits sleeping, that's roughly where it is. I just forgot to add, Hawaii is just not canon to the Town of Nowhere, I guess. Replace it with that. Yeah, there we go. I thought that was there was a moment where Texas was gone. Guys, it's right there. It's the same place it's always been. it was like, I mean, like, I don't really care for like Lovecraft on a lot of levels. He did a few things right as far as horror goes. He really went for that whole like, what things scare me, I'm going to make into like an extreme thing. Like, forget which one is about him being scared of air conditioning. I think it's like the something or other of air is one. Um, the cool air, the cold air. Yeah. Um, just him being weird about shit in general is just sort of a lot of it. So why did it flash? Because the end thing. Guess I didn't. This never came about, but the end thing flashed because it had to be a video file, and the video file I just made to be like 10 minutes long or something like that, long enough that I could do the news report and then cut away and call it the end. It loops a few times. I made it loop long enough that it wouldn't lag out my computer, but not so long that it would cause problems. So it's actually a defined limit length of video. I just made sure it was, yeah. Oh, I forgot it still plays the news, doesn't it? That was the other thing, the news thing. Does the news lady have a name? I didn't bother giving her one. You guys didn't get a chance to meet her. I was too worried about everything else. I think I answered everything on the Reddit. I'm going to double check and make sure I answered everything in the comments on YouTube. It looks like there were no real questions on YouTube. They were mostly just people being like cool about the ending and appreciating it in general. Nancy News, Henrietta Pauline Lovecraft, News Lady, spelled like it would be a name. I see. But yeah, I think I got everything. Is there any other questions you guys want me to answer real quick, or did I get everything more or less? I think I answered all of these. Who in universe knows about Homestuck? I believe you've told Crystal, Gerald, and Kevin about Homestuck. Whose blood was in the Home Depot? The original Home Depot employees. A lot of them were murdered because they were walking through the mirror aisles or customers, and they just happened to be there when the bastard was there, and it realized it got seen, and so it had to kill people. What was the significance of horticulture? It was literally just a throwaway stat that was meant to just be like, here's just so you know, stats in this game mean fucking nothing. And I'm not going to tell you what you are, you know? You telling me the little dragon lady doesn't read Homestuck? Okay. Also, weird side note, the reason she's a dragon is because I really like the dollar store. I feel like a dragon every time I go in there. Like, I go in there and, like, find magic there somehow. I don't know how or what the fuck that means, but I just find it to be like, oh, man. Like, I have $5. I could get, like, 4 or 5 things with that. And I could have things. I could have all of these things. I could have all of the things. Yes. So I was like, yeah, let's have a little dragon because that's fucking adorable. What is everyone's reactions to the nowhere to the explosion? I think everyone's kind of freaked the fuck out. I don't know what the name of it is. I think we'll probably edit the Town of Nowhere Reddit to be just generally speaking for any of the future Twitch plays RPGs sort of things that we're doing. Um, did it surprise you when people interpreted Noah and Raymond as exes? No, I got that quite a bit, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. What was with Justin? He's a zombie. He's just like that. You can't just ask why people are like that. Why are you a girl? What? You can't just ask people that. It's weird. He's just a zombie. Some people are just zombies. Why does he come back? Because that's how it works. Why are you a bird? Because I couldn't rotoscope anyone else. Is he all right? Yeah, he doesn't mind. Works out for him. Why are you a sixth-dimensional being? Just cuz. I think the main one of the last things I need to figure out, aside from getting the assets together for the next session, is just coming up with a good name for it that would have isn't gonna get mixed up with something else because of like the alliteration or whatever. Like TTON is like apparently that acronym is used for like a billion different things. Does Noah like you? Yes. Does Kevin feel like he's being an accessory to the explosion? He understood what was going on. He believed what was going on. Could Sam hurt us? Absolutely. If you guys had fucked up the first session, if you guys had screwed that up and let him in, he would have absolutely like made you into a vampire, or at least drank your blood. Like, yeah. But you know, you didn't invite him in. That was sort of my that was my like pull the plug switch. If you guys didn't if you guys let the vampire in to kill you, I would have been like, okay, chat doesn't get this. I'm pulling the plug. We're done. Like, because I feel like that first session is like, be wary of stuff, pay attention to shit, go from there. I think he would have probably just killed you. You guys passed the test. Yes, exactly. Sam was a test to see whether or not you guys were paying attention. And whether or not you guys got the flow. Crystal was me just straight up screwing you. And just being like, okay, this is what happens when you screw up. If you don't, and there was no way to know that that was the case. Sam was the pop quiz. Yeah. And then as soon as I realized that you guys understood the whole thing with Sam, I was like, cool, we're good to do the rest of this because you guys get that. You guys will be safe from most ways of hurting yourself or ways that we could instantly lose this. Could we make demon deals with Raymond? Like I said, like when I worked at, you know, if I go to the grocery store still, I'll pull stuff forward. It's the same sort of thing with Raymond. Like, I feel like he's still, you know, he doesn't do that professionally anymore, but he's still kind of about it to some degree. Like, he's still got that in him. Like, you have to have a certain personality to be okay with that kind of thing. So, I don't feel like he would do it, like, in a professional sense. But he'd be like, yeah, man, if you want to murder people, that's chill. So Demon packed with Raymond, 100% possible. Yeah, why not? Again, if you want to like hang out with Raymond more in the meantime between this time and Town of Nowhere 2, you can get a bootleg version of it through Inner Sanctum, which, by the way, just really good stories in general. It's worth a listen to. that was a huge inspiration. So was obviously Pawns of Chaos. Tales from the Gas Station is another good one. Mr. Creepypasta did a thing of that. Could the Home Depot god given no cool powers? No, and it wouldn't have, because that wouldn't have benefited it in any way, shape, or form. Is Mary just okay with him? Listen, like, I feel like a healthy relationship is just accepting what your partner's hobbies are, and like, not say like, listen, like Tilda accepts and appreciates that I play Warhammer, and she's like, it's good for you, and she'll go and buy, like, I don't know, stuff to make a dress or to do quilting, and I'm like, cool, you need whatever this thing is, 100% about that. Like, we're gonna go and get thread. I'm cool with that. I don't like understand this totally on what we're getting, but like, we're gonna get that. And then I'll tell Tilda stuff like, man, sweetheart, like I want to get this battle wagon, or I want to get this this Dark Apostle or whatever. Like, it'd be a really cool model to paint. I think I got an idea for an army that uses him, so like, I'm just gonna go and pick him up. And then the wife is like, cool. Like, we don't like talk down about each other's hobbies, and sometimes your hobby is tea. We're supportive of each other's hobbies. Sometimes your hobby is tea. Sometimes your hobby is murder. That's what a good relationship is being supportive of each other's hobbies. So yeah. But yeah. Yeah, unless if there's any other questions that y'all want to have answered, I'm going to go ahead and I guess leave it at that. Is there any, let me check and see if there's art. There might be art. I should always check for art. There is a shit ton of art, actually. Hold up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, it I've said this multiple times during streams of this, but seeing the Boro go like teal and pink is like, if people do art of a stream I do, I've done good. I did a good stream. If people felt like they were going to spend their time and energy making an art for me, and that the fact that the boar looks like this right now, like, look at that. It's all like teal and pink. Like, cool. I've done something right, So, I don't know. Thank you, guys. We've got this one from Targo. It's of Raymond and a rad-ass background. I love it. Thank you for encouraging us to draw. Dude, this shit slaps. That's why I'm encouraging you to draw. It slaps hard. Chad agrees. Thank you. We've got this one from Anna LRK. So I made a game. Thank you. I'm glad you guys liked it. I really am. Incidental trans rights color palette is just how computer games on old computers used to be, but worked out with whatever No ended up being, So I made a game and it was very poggers. Thank you, guys. I am nowhere. Don't forget me. That shit, like that line, great shit. That's the kind of thing I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't have written that. I wouldn't have written some of the shit. Like, Pogger Sherman, dude. Like, that line was better than any, like, hard-boiled detective line. It would have been, like, stupid, right? Like, that is cool. That was fun. That's why you gotta let your Like, yeah, it's good. Check out the comments. Originally, I was going to put, and it was the best thing ever because it is, but I felt it's very poggers, was more on brand for Town of Nowhere in general. Anyway, I can't thank you enough for making and sharing Town of Nowhere. I'm excited to see what you make in the future. I just need to draw all the assets for the next one because I decided that instead of doing something easy that I could, like, you know, edit up on the fly, I would just do an art. Like, do arts. There's that. Thank you. Thank you, Odd Merit, for this art. Thank you, Chaotic Nowhere, by the way, and Jack Nierk for the stuff y'all did to make it so that way it was easier for me to keep track of all my shit. Because, like, I've got this notebook here, you know, but, like, being able to keep track of all of the shit, it's just easier to have y'all. It was nice to have y'all backing me up on stuff that you guys knew, you know? So that was cool too. So thank you guys. Check the comments on mine. Thank you for the Town of Nowhere. The story meant quite a bit to me in the past, like, 8 months. Here's my Nowhere for final time. Their chess piece, Visage, having been broken by destroying the sewer bastard. I don't think I'll be forgetting about them anytime soon. I'm glad. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. There's a lot of little Easter eggs. The fact that it's like Crocs, yeah. Oh yeah, this is like after the explosion, because it's like there's the car from the dealership and the motel explosion line. Damn. We've got this one from Krabby Apples. This one's from the Outer Wilds, which is a rad game too. Highly recommend you guys check it out. I don't know what this is on. It looks like it's on like some stone, like a pipe somewhere. Oh, there's a YouTube video. Oh, it's this dude. This dude did one a little while back, and it was just like
Hello there, Rev.
Hi.
In accordance with the large celestial bodies being the only thing visible due to the fact that there are many fires apparently wreaking havoc on air quality, I decided to make this project in a way that would directly show some of that aspect and is inspired directly in a way by the moon of the night that I actually painted this on.
Cool. I'm gonna link this in chat. It's on the Bora as well. I'm gonna watch the rest of this in a minute though, because I want to see all of the art. But it turned out really nice. Just looking at it, turned out really good, dude. Left ear ASMR, yeah, a little bit. It's good. We got this one from Derated. See you next adventure. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for making art for it. Seriously, this was so cool. The bad soup. This slaps. Super cute. Thank you. We've got this one from Anna LRK. A little bit more of a traditional, no, abjure sort of situation. Like a playing card sort of thing. God, this is a cool ride, dude. This is a very cool ride. Thank you guys for being here for it. Thank you guys for, I don't know, just fucking experiencing this shit with me, and being a part of it. A lot of stuff I couldn't get into just because of like the amount of time that I had to explain. I want to leave some stuff being secret because there's, I mean, still a lot to be said about like the Town of Nowhere and shit like that, about characters and all that. But, you know, that just leaves more shit to begin into next time. That's awesome, Space Cactus. Holy shit. Thank you. Yeah, I am nowhere. Don't forget me. Well, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I'm gonna try and get something together with Mike for on Monday, and I'm gonna go do a little bit more arts so we can get shit together. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Why don't I give someone a raid too? It's in the spirit of the town of nowhere, right? Get some coffee points for the next one.